Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, Harv was right. There's a lot of new faces in this group. I am a Rotarian and part of this the Rotarian group here in Hot Springs Village, and he's right. I tried it for several years where I could make the meetings at 7 o'clock in the morning, but my office seems to be in my company truck. And if you look inside of it, you would understand that, because I'm not just responsible for Hot Springs Village, but I'm also responsible for all of the air program, and I get pulled into the Hot Springs Malvern division quite often on a daily basis. What I'd really like to do this morning is kind of give you a quick presentation, and I'd kind of like to hold the questions until the end. I did a presentation. This is the first time I've done one since the start of the COVID, other than I did a small one for the GAC here in the village back about a month ago. And I found out that if we ask questions during the presentation, it seems to go long because people always have a lot of questions about the EMS service. And there's always been some confusion here in the village because of the way the membership works. So don't mind interrupting me if you really do have a question, but I would like to answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So me and Harv's been trying to do this since early September, and we've had like 3 or 4 dates set, but with the COVID, we've had to change the dates, and I appreciate this opportunity today to be able to speak to y'all, because really nobody really wants to think about an ambulance service or an ambulance until they need one. And we all would like to have our own ambulance in our own backyard, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. So what I'd like to talk to you about this morning is understanding EMS in your community. But what I'd like to start with is kind of giving you a history about LifeNet in whole, our whole organization. So we are a not-for-profit organization. We're governed by a 15 board of directors. When we originally started, right before the village, we only had a 9-chair board. And as we started to grow into the community and into other states, we realized that most of our board members were from our headquarter offices in Texarkana, Arkansas. So we decided that we needed representation from all of the areas that we served. And we were very privileged to have Harv Shelton sitting on our board of directors representing Hot Springs Village. He is a great asset and a very civic-minded human being. So thank you, Harv. Our key management, again, we have a board of directors and we have a CEO, which is David Bumgardner. It's funny about David Bumgardner is I did my internship in 1981 in Amarillo, Texas. And that was back in the day when pre-hospital medicine was completely different than it is today. We didn't have the tools that we have today. We had the education and the knowledge, and it was a much stricter program as far as discipline than it is today. But I did my internship in Amarillo, and David Bumgardner was a young field supervisor working in that area, and he ended up being my proctor for a whole month. And back then when we did our internship, we'd have to work 24 hours a day, 24 off, and we did not get paid. We had to provide our own housing, we had to provide everything, and still try to keep our full-time jobs. So it was tough back in the day, but what's funny is that small world has come back around, and now he's my CEO. So a super guy. Jason Gartner is our general manager, and he is the general manager for the Hot Springs Garland County division, and he is who I answer to. Our key management, again, I'm the director of operations for the village and for the helicopter here in Garland County. Clay Hall is the director of operations in Hot Springs. Tommy Singleton is the director of operations in Malvern, and Ryan Hamilton is our communications center manager. So let me give you a little timeline about LifeNet. Our air service is the longest acting air service in the state of Arkansas. We started in 1983, and at that time it was Air Life, and St. Michael's and St. Christus and Wadley Regional was working together to provide that area with pre-hospital ambulances, and they developed the first helicopter in the state of Arkansas, and that was in 1983. In 1993, the two hospitals realized, and that's a little bit before the Medicare Reform Act started, the hospitals realizes that it was very difficult for hospital-based ambulance services to provide the appropriate services to the community, basically due to financial needs and Medicare reimbursement changes. So they developed a not-for-profit organization, and in 1993, LifeNet was founded. So, and our headquarters is in Texarkana, Texas. We operate both sides of the state line, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that here in just a second. In 2005, St. Joseph's Medical Center and National Park Medical Center both had ambulance services here. St. Joseph's had an exclusive, but National Park was running some emergencies and picking up some slack for St. Joseph's. Well, again, with the Medicare Reform Act and stuff, they found out that it wasn't cost effective for them to run an ambulance service, so they invited LifeNet into the community, and LifeNet started operation in Hot Springs in 2005. In 2009, Lifemobile, in the 2000, Barbara was part of Cedar Mountain Ambulance Service, and she helped establish to get paramedic level ambulances here in Hot Springs Village. And they tried different ways of financing to provide ambulance service here in the village. And at that time the population wasn't as it is today, and also the age group. Even though it was still a older population, it wasn't a older growing population. So it was very hard to find. So there was a private ambulance service that come in and tried to provide services here for a couple years, and they just weren't able to maintain financially the cost of running an ambulance service in such a rural gated community. So we established LifeNet in 2009. I've been the director here since 2009. And we have contractual demands that is set up with the Property Owners Association. And I'll talk a little bit more about that and how that works here in just a minute. In 2011, we moved into Western Payne County, which is in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Cowboys.
Yeah, no. We give that poor guy down there that runs that service lots of trouble. Anyway, we also take care of OSU, and we've moved out into some of the surrounding counties outside of Stillwater, Oklahoma. In 2014, we moved into Malvern as an invite from their community to take over services. They were having problems with the previous ambulance service there, not meeting response time demands, and there were some clinical deficiencies. So again, they invited LifeNet into the community to see if they could provide adequate service. One thing about LifeNet is that we don't go forcefully looking for services to take over. We usually wait for a community to invite us in, and we make sure that we look at every aspect of that organization to see if it meets our model for operations. So we have progressively moved on in the last 5 or 6 years and spread, pretty much out across Texas and Arkansas and Oklahoma. In 2019, we took over Denison, Texas, which is on the border of Oklahoma, Texas, Lake Texoma area. And it says Morris County coming soon. In the last, I believe it was the last couple months, we've started operations in Morris County, Texas as well. So we're pretty much handling most of the northeast corner of Texas in Miller County, on the Arkansas side, Bowie, Cass, Red River counties, and now with Morrison and Denison on the Texas side. So you can see we're quite a large organization. We have probably somewhere between 350 to 400 employees. We're running 55 to 56 ambulances organizationally wide on the street every day with 2 helicopters and fixed wing capability. One of the things that we're most proud of is that we are CAS accredited. And this really ought to give the communities we serve a assurance that we're not being transparent. CAS is a nationally accreditation, and it's the Commission of Accreditation for Ambulance Services, not just for the United States, but for the whole world. And we're only one of 8 services that hold this accreditation in the state of Arkansas, and only one of 80 in the nation. So we're audited by a third party, this nationally known accreditation. They send a group in every 3 years, and they look at 100 or plus 100 standards of performance. They look at our agency's management, they look at our financial management, our strategic planning, our public relations, our mutual aid and disaster, community education, our human resources, our clinical standards, our clinical care, and our quality improvement program. And so they pretty much dissect us up into little bitty pieces and then rate us and score us. And we've been accredited for, I know that since my employment, I've been with LifeNet now since almost 15 years, and we've held this accreditation, not just in Hot Springs Village or Hot Springs, but in every one of our service areas. So we're very proud of that, and our communities ought to be really proud that, that we hold that accreditation, because we're not just speaking for ourselves. We have a national accreditation that comes in and speaks for us. What to expect when you call 911. And these will be some of the questions that y'all have at the end of this. We dispatch our own ambulances and our own fixed wings and helicopters. All of our dispatchers are nationally emergency medical dispatch certified. And when you call, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is why all the questions. But what you need to understand, that there's multiple people in there working multiple PCs. And there's the person you're talking to is not the person that's talking to your crew that's coming to you. So even though that they're asking all of these questions, there's already somebody else moving an ambulance towards your direction. But it's important that we get this information, because with our EMD, which is Emergency Medical Dispatch software program, as you ask questions and put in information, it prioritizes your call and helps us to send the appropriate resources to take care of your need. But there's not a delay in getting your ambulance to you. And people get frustrated because they feel like they're being asked a lot of questions and no help's coming, but that's not the case. So I need people to understand that. I know it can be frustrating, especially when you're in the middle of the moment. And but that information is very important to make sure that we're sending not just the appropriate ambulance to you, but we may need other resources other than just that ambulance, whether it be law enforcement, fire department, or whatever. So I know a lot of y'all have heard about Smart 911. This is a gift that the state of Arkansas has purchased for every resident of Arkansas at free of charge, and everyone should take advantage of this. I know some of y'all probably already have it in here, and some of y'all probably go, what is that? I've never heard of it. Well, you could go online to smart911.com and you can build your profile in there. And I mean, you can build your profile not only to yourself, but to every occupant of your home. And you can build your profile to your cell phone or your hard line. And you can put stuff in there from the name of your dog to the color of your car to the shape of your house to a certain tree in your yard. You can build your profile as defined as you would like to. And all that does is help us. And when that number that is programmed in there, when it comes up on our 911 screen, our dispatchers automatically see that complete profile. If you have a key hidden somewhere to your house, or you have a neighbor that is holding a key to your house, or you have an emergency contact that could get in your, all that stuff can be built into your profile, and it is free of charge to you. And it follows you all across the United States. As of a couple years ago, there was only like 47 states that had adopted this for their state. But right now, I believe nationwide is pretty much all the way covered. So it follows you no matter where you go. So if you get an opportunity, just go to smart911.com and fill this information out. And if people's ever, and I'm pretty sure there's probably an individual in this room that's called 911 that has Smart 911 and knows how that works. So anyway, it's very important that we do that. On board our ambulances, you know, we're blessed. We have the best equipment. Right now, the village has a brand new fleet of ambulances. We just put 3 brand new ambulances out here. We have all advanced level life support vehicles. There's no basic life support vehicles here. It's all paramedic advanced life support. We have the state-of-the-art equipment as far as cardiac monitors, ventilators, you know, any of your durable medical type of equipment that helps us do our job. It's always state-of-the-art. We practice evidence-based medicine, and we train on it and train on it. Our cardiac monitors, we can do 12 leads, we can do 4 leads, we can do pace, we can pace you, we can do arterial line pressures, we can do cerebral pressures inside the head. We can read all these stuff, plus we can transmit that in transit to the hospital. And we're developing a new program right now that we're starting called Pulsera, which is nationwide. And the hospitals not will only be able to see in a cardiac event what's going on in a certain timeline, minute by minute live. And it's almost like telemedicine, but for stroke, for cardiac, for trauma, for medical, and it's all off of an Android or Apple device. So we're in the process of doing that right now, and in the next couple months we'll have all that capability here in our area. And the most recent purchase we did is that we work real closely with the fire department here and also with law enforcement. I mean, the village is probably, as far as the number of AEDs that are in your gated community, is unbelievable, which is electricity saves lives. And we'll talk about that here in just a minute. But we purchased these Lucas devices, and what these are mechanically CPR machines. And they're the top of the line. They're 99% more accurate than a human being can be. They don't get tired, and you have no delay in compressions, and that's where people lose their lives, when we're stopping compressions to do another procedure. And we work real close with the fire department, and in the past the fire departments had to to send a third person or one of their personnel in with us to do CPR when we go into the hospital, and they don't have the resources to do that. So what this has done is freed our paramedics' hands up, and it's also give us the ability not to have to utilize another agency and take a resource out of the village, and it does uninterrupted compressions. And we're gathering data on this every time we use it right now. And we've only had it for about 6 months. The minute that thing is activated, no matter what time of day it is, I get an alert on my phone and I can pull up real life of what's going on out of that machine. Myself and the education manager here in Hot Springs. But as of right now, Hot Springs Village is the only ones that have deployed these devices. These devices are $20,000 a piece, and we have them on all 4 ambulances here in the village and on the helicopter. So it is a very big expense for the company, but at the end, it is what saves lives. Basic life support versus ALS. Basic life support, we are an all ALS service here in the village. You will never see a basic life support ambulance out here unless it's coming from town, and I'll explain that to you here in just a minute. They're basically, basic life support only has 2 EMTs on it. They transport, they don't treat. They can monitor oxygen, you know, if a patient's on oxygen, they monitor oxygen and stuff like that, but they do no treatments. And most of the time we utilize that for a hospital back to a nursing home or for a psychiatric transport, which we do multiple psychiatric transports, and most of them are out of town. Advanced life support, you'll have 1 EMT, 1 paramedic. There's a lot more treatment options. They're able to do invasive, advanced airway management, all cardiac life support, trauma life support, the utilization of medications. And again, all of our ambulances here in the village are advanced life support ambulances. LifeNet here in the village. So we have 3 stations here in the village. The village at the Colella post is at 114 Los Lagos, and that is where my office is. We keep 2 ambulances there. One is 24/7 staffed, and the other one is there as a backup in the event that we have a mechanical breakdown or system overload. I can get on that ambulance and call in another personnel, and we can put a 4th ambulance up, you know, depending on the availability of my personnel. We don't have to do that very often, but we do it. Our other post is at the Cortez Fire Station at 110 Cortez, and at the Balboa Fire Station at 115 Ponce de Leon. And again, we work real close with the fire department, so we have a great working relationship with these guys. So how your membership works, and I think this is where probably the most important thing that y'all get out of this. Y'all have got a great service out here, and this is probably the best deal in the world, and not because I work for LifeNet, but I've worked for other services and I know how all this works. But the village pays us a subsidy of about $60,000 a month, and what that really is paying for is the ability to have 3 paramedic level ambulances in the village. And you pay for it, I think it's like $7.25. I think you pay it bi-monthly, so it's $14 and something, but it's like a $7.25 stipend on your water bill, separate line item. And what that covers is your benefits. If you need an ambulance, it's not free ambulance service, and you'll hear this frequently. Oh, I live in the village, I have free ambulance service, or I'll never get a bill because I live in the village. Well, that's not the case. The case is that we're going to file your insurance, we're going to file your Medicare, we're going to file Medicaid, we're going to file a third-party insurance. We're going to file it, and if it's medically necessary and the insurance accepts that, you will never, ever, ever see any out of pocket. Not your copay, not your deductible, no co-insurance. You will never see any out of pocket. But the key word here is medically necessary transport. You would not believe the type of calls that we go on. I mean, I would never say don't call 911 if you don't need an ambulance. But there is a lot of things that there's no way your insurance company is going to allow payment for an unnecessary transport when you could have gone by other means. That is out of our control. We do not dictate whether that insurance company or Medicare or Medicaid is going to accept that. So what LifeNet does is that a lot of times, and it doesn't happen that frequently, our paramedics and EMTs are very educated out here, and we try to educate the patients. We never will talk you out of going. We may lead you into the right direction that you should go, but we're never going to not transport you if you want to go be transported to a hospital. If your insurance denies, LifeNet is very good about appealing that for you at least once or twice. But if it continues to deny the payment, or you have no insurance whatsoever, you still get a 40% discount on your bill. And that's not just for you at your residence. That's for anyone visiting your residence, anyone that lives in your residence. I mean, if you have a plumber come over and he breaks his leg while trips in the kitchen, well, no, your membership is not going to cover that plumber. But if you have guests visiting from Michigan and they're staying in your home and you have an incident where they need an ambulance, your membership will cover them as well. And it follows you not just inside the gates of the village, but anywhere within our operational area. So if you're in Hot Springs and you have a car wreck and you have to be transported, you're still going to get the same memberships benefits that you have here in the village. LifeNet Air, we do fly the village about once a month, probably anywhere between 12 to 15 patients a year we fly from the village, and most of them are neurological incidents or trauma. And most of those patients are flown to Little Rock, mainly because we don't want to double fly them, and especially if it's neurological. Hot Springs does not always have complete neuro coverage. If you have a situation that is where you need intervention, we're going to take you to the appropriate place the first time. So Air Methods is partnership with us, and they do our billing and they do our charting. So basically, you get the same membership for the helicopter as you do for the ambulance, and it doesn't cover any other helicopter outside of LifeNet. So, but we're always going to still do the best thing in the best interest of the patient. We can talk about sudden cardiac arrest, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but the three things that y'all need to remember, these three things right here are what y'all can do. Early recognition, know the signs and symptoms of cardiac events: chest pain, shortness of breath, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, sweating, and access 911 early. Whether you're CPR certified or not, learn how to do CPR. CPR, just think one thing. It's not like it used to be. Pump hard, pump fast. Pump hard, pump fast until somebody can help you. And early defibrillation, and that, find out where your AEDs are. Yell for one, ask for help. Because those three things is what the public can do that save lives, and it changes lives every day, especially here in the village. I'm okay. Let me go over this right quick. We have an AED program to where if you're a not-for-profit, churches, first responder groups, it excludes schools and universities. if y'all want an AED, your church wants an AED, and you're a not-for-profit, you can, we'll buy the AED and we'll pay half of it for you. And we've done this through several of the churches and first responder groups around the village and in the village. And we also have a loaner AED program, which I keep a AED in my office. If y'all are having a big family reunion out here and you're at the pavilion and you think you may have such a large group and there's not an AED out there, you can come in and borrow the AED for the day and just put down a $250 deposit, and we'll let you have that. And when you bring it back, we'll give you your money back. So, I mean, that's something that a lot of people don't know about. And but again, like I said earlier, there's so many AEDs in the village now. It's we just don't utilize that very often. I wish we did. So, I think I probably need to ask some questions because this is a little bit long. But we do a lot of community education, bystander CPR, stop the bleed classes, 911 education classes, ambulance tours, especially with the kids at schools, career fairs, and continuing education. We do all of our own continuing education in-house. So anyway, I'll open it up for questions. Yes, sir.
Can you explain to me the difference of where you would take someone either to Hot Springs or to Little Rock? And because I've heard different stories on that, and I'd like to get that.
Okay. As of the present moment right now, things are going to change probably in a few months. We're going to take you to one of three hospitals. We're either going to take you to CHI, National Park, or Saline Memorial. Those are three hospitals within our operational area. If we cannot take you beyond Saline because it ties up, it takes your resources out of the village, and it's just too long. We will take you, get you stabilized, and if they feel like you need to be transported on to Little Rock from that point, then we'll make arrangements to transport you on. But we'll only take you to one of the three hospitals in our operational area. That's probably going to change when the Arkansas Heart Hospital opens up in Bryant. We are talking about adding that to the operational area hospital.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
What kind of training is required for this Lucas unit?
I can teach you how to set that Lucas unit up in 2 minutes. I can teach a 7-year-old how to do it in 2 minutes. It actually takes about 45 seconds to put together. Our personnel are trained on it, and what we did when we first got it, we took it and we trained all the firemen here in the village to use it, and also the law enforcement officers, because those are the folks that are going to help us on the scene set it up.
So if a church or other organization was well-heeled enough to afford one of these, could they buy that?
Say that again?
If a church...
No, not the Lucas.
Okay.
No, just the AED.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
A lot of folks might have out of the area cell phones with different area codes. How does that impact a 911 call?
Well, okay, and that's a good question. It always comes up. In Garland County, there's five 911 PSAPs. You need to realize when you dial 911, you're not automatically going to a police department or a sheriff's department or an ambulance service. If you need an ambulance, when you pick up 911 here in the village, it goes to the village police department. They have a 911 operator. They're going to ask you 3 questions. Do you need law enforcement, fire, or EMS? And if it's a medical call, it's a wooden button transfer straight to our dispatch, and then we will take over that whole call. Depending on where you're at in the village, it's gotten much better. We haven't had this problem in several years, but before, if you lived in the east portion of the village, depending on what cell phone provider you had, there was always a possibility that you would hit the Saline County tower and you would get the Saline County Sheriff's Office. But we've worked together so long that they recognize that you're a village resident or you're near the village, they automatically do a wooden button transfer over to our dispatch.
So it doesn't matter what state you're from originally?
No, sir.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one quick one. How does the Smart Life app on a phone if I call you and say, and I hit the Smart Life app, or whatever I need to, does that help? I mean, and it's in the sense of where I'm located.
Oh, yeah, we can ping your phone exactly to where your spot is. Because it completely works off of your phone number that you've put in there in service.
Any other questions? Well, he needs a round of applause. That was a good.